Happy morning to all of you. I'm now going to talk about an 8-year-old girl, and this happened sometime in the early 70s. She was a very bold, boisterous, and courageous girl, and very mischievous too. And every time there was a commotion at home, her father would chase her all around the house and outside the house to spike her. But then she was very fast, and she would also smartly avoid the policing done by her brother and sister, who would say, yeah, she's gone this side. Yeah, she's behind the sofa and things like that. And once her father settles down exhausted, she will come out of the hiding and say, do we start the chase all over again? And the whole house will burst into laughter. Her father used to remark very proudly, you're going to be a great athlete one day. So she was very serious about sports in school, and she wanted to play volleyball, much to the agony of the parents and teachers. Her father wanted her to make two promises. One was that she would take complete responsibility of her future and also bring laurels to the family. So she gave a big nod and then started training herself vigorously, and rain or shine, she was in the ground every day morning at 6 a.m. After about 11 years of rigorous training, she went on to win the historic title of All India Inter-University Volleyball Gold, which was a history that was created after 21 years representing Madras University. And as this girl, the Jubilean girl, was walking outside the stadium amidst the thunderous applause, a team approached her. And one of them, who looked like a leader, asked her, would you like to take up a job with their organization? She was shocked. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She thought of the promise she had made to her father, and she said, yes. And I'm sure all of you are curious to know who that little girl is. You can see her here, and it's me. And this was when I was in school, and they were my trainers, who are more than my parents to me. And this was the university team, the Madras University team. And below you can see the Indian Railway team, which went on to win a consecutive 5 gold medals in a row. And it was the Indian Railways that had offered me a job in sports quota, and I'm still in service. So all these successes and accolades I was able to achieve only because of my happy childhood and happy schooling that I had, and the encouragement that my father, my mother, my family, my teachers and school had given me. On the contrary, I had been to my friend's place one evening. It was a few years back, and the whole house was looking very gloomy. There was no TV, no music, no lights burning. But then in one of the rooms, I could see a boy at the study desk. I was very curious to know what is happening. So I asked my friend, and this was a conversation that went on. I asked him, anything tragic? What happened? He said, nothing. It is just that my son is taking his school final exam. Oh. Why don't you put him in a boarding school then? No, I have his teachers in the next room. They are guiding him. Oh. I think he is a little tense. Why don't you let him play for some time? He said, you know something? He's not played for more than 2 years. Oh. So earlier he did play, is it? Yeah, he did. He was playing cricket continuously for 10 months. Oh, that's wonderful. So he must be keeping good health. No, unfortunately, he underwent an eye surgery. Then why? Because that was a video game. Oh my God. And the conversation continued. I asked him, why did you buy the video game then? Because he refused to go to school and he was very poor in maths. Okay, then what happened now? He's very regular to school. Oh, that's wonderful. Then what about maths? Hey, why do I worry? He has to take up my family business. Oh. So this was when I really thought that the tragedy had struck the boy. We are all heading towards a generation which will never know what deep happiness or success in real life is all about. We give them a set of input and expect a different set of output, which is why we need a radical transformation in the education system. Every child has the right not to just education, but to holistic education, which will nurture not only their intelligence quotient, but also their emotional quotient, and also the growth mindset or the grit. And this should be made available for every child, irrespective of the caste, creed, country, and religion that they belong to. Over the years, all the fields have changed and made rapid strides. But then, if there is one field that has undergone very minimal change, it is the field of education. And as all of you know, education starts at home and it continues in the second home, which is the school. And what the prerequisite for the education to start at home is the quality time that the parents spend with your little ones. And this is what I mean about quality time. I think all these are all forgotten. But then, what we actually see is this. We definitely need to give a thought to this. And as for schools, the methodology of teaching determines the academic performance of a child. Unfortunately, we have a uniform system of teaching the whole class, whereas we have different set of learners like slow learners, fast learners, not very fast learners, not very slow learners, and then borderline deficits and ADHD kids, which sometimes goes unnoticed. So how do we tackle this challenge? We need to bring all these slow learners to the mainstream with the help of support courses and bridge courses, and then use digital learning as we are in a digital era, use modern methodologies of teaching, and then equip the teachers well and train them, and also give them enough and sufficient feedback for them to continuously improve their performance. So this is the strategy that we had adopted in one of the rural schools and went on to obtain 100% pass percentage in the school final exam after a span of 40 years. So all the kids who are encouraged and not branded as dull and slow are the happiest and they perform well. We do not attach much of importance to the emotional intelligence or the EQ as we do to the IQ or the intelligence quotient. Emotional quotient is something which will help the child to understand, recognize, manage, control, and express its emotion in the most acceptable manner. We definitely need to mark these children on emotional quotient cards, wherein they will be gauged against parameters like anger management, time management, sympathy, empathy, and altruism, self-esteem and motivation, and so on. So this will give a wonderful picture about the mental happiness and mental well-being of the child, and also indicate if the child is heading towards any behavioral disorder or a mental illness. I have this one classic example of a girl from grade 5 in one of the rural schools, and she was always marked as angry always. I hear someone saying, yeah, that is very common. But then there was something very uncommon about this child, because whenever she was said a no, whenever her parents said a no to her, she got angry, threw temper tantrums, and started inflicting pain on herself. So we had a family counseling session, brought them all together, and then taught them anger management techniques. Lots of treaties were signed, MOUs were made, peace treaties were made, and then they are a lot more happier, and the child is almost normal and is able to perform academically well. We had this one boy in grade 12 from one of the rural schools who was called as the sleeping beauty in class. Of course, all of us sleep. But then there was something abnormal about this boy, because the moment he enters the class and sits on the bench, he starts sleeping. So on an inquiry, we found out that this boy had taken up a part-time job in the evening and would work in the kiosk next to his house from 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. in the night to help his mother as he was fatherless. So what we did, we had a group counseling session where we brought his parents, his mentors, his teachers, and our own counselors, and also the owner of the kiosk, and made this child work on its time and thoughts, on how to we taught them how to manage his time and thoughts, and then spread the extra hours of work to the weekends and the holidays, and so that he found a lot of time for himself, his studies, and his passions. And now, after getting beautiful grades from the school final exam, he's now graduating in one of the residential engineering colleges in Coimbatore. Education is purposeless if it does not teach sympathy, empathy, and altruism. I remember a visually impaired girl in grade 5 who is marooned from the rest of the class and nicknamed and ridiculed all the time because she was not able to look straight, but she would always tilt her head like this and gaze. So we thought it was very unhealthy. So we had an exercise done for the rest of the students. We blindfolded their eyes and then asked them to still do their routine for half an hour. After which, most of the children started crying, some of them were shocked, but then all of them went to the little girl and said, sorry. They started smiling at her, they started spending their time with her. So this joy of giving their time and smile was the biggest lesson taught. And all these needs to be done at a very early age. Self-esteem is something which drives us all to success, and this also has to be inculcated from the childhood. I remember one wonderful child who was in grade 10. He was called Ostrich because he was nicknamed Ostrich because he was tall and lanky and had very long limbs. He was ridiculed for this, and he felt so embarrassed, and the self-esteem was so low because the moment he enters the class, he will see that all the other guys are just half his height. So we called him for a counseling session and then called all his teachers and parents and told the child, motivated him to use this for his benefit. So he started training himself, and after 3 years, he went on to win the Asian Athletics School Junior Championship at Jakarta. And I'm really, really proud to say that he is also training himself to find a slot in the Asian Games 2020. And as the children grow from childhood through adolescence, they need education, mentoring, counseling, and guidance on a lot of issues like the role of education, the parts and working of the brain, adolescence, hormonal changes and bodily changes that happens during adolescence, drugs, addictions, alcohol, motivation, their own career intentionality, their skill building, and abuse of all types, of course, which is the need of the hour, be it sexual, psychological, or physical. And then the nature of abuse, opportunistic and systematic abuse. Self-vigilance, being alert, self-defense. And happiest are those children who are able to get a support in any of these issues when needed at the appropriate time. So when we nurture the intelligence, the emotional intelligence of the child, they are the happiest and they give the best. I feel that these days education actually educates us out of other types of intelligence like creative intelligence, spatial intelligence, sensory intelligence, body kinesthetic intelligence, and intuitive intelligence, and so on. A classic example of a boy was that of a boy in the grade 8 in one of the rural schools again. He was always that inattentive in class, fit for nothing. But then we saw a good science temper in him. So we put him onto our lab, and with the help of the teachers and the mentors and our experts from the Aero Astro Club, he was able to develop a prototype that would convert the human waste in the train into water that could be used for agriculture in grade 8. This was widely acclaimed and recognized. So all types of intelligence, when nurtured in the child, makes them happy and they are able to give their best. And as these children grow out and go to the college and then out into the society, they need to know their roles and responsibilities and become active and responsible citizens in the society, which is very essential. It is one of the biggest education that we need to do to the children. So one of the wonderful projects that we did in this regard was, we made groups of children work on the road or a street that was close to their school. So they had to inspect and survey the roads and then find out the civic requirements and make a presentation, give the presentation to the corporation commissioner, and then take it to the departments and the officers, speak to them, and also get all these issues resolved. And some of the commendable changes that they could do was like bringing the traffic signals that they needed close to their school. And this was a public toilet which was renovated by them. So a person or a child, to be successful in life, needs to be taught all this, which finally gives them success in real life. And all these should be an integral part of the education system. We from Aram Foundation work with nearly 90 schools covering 27,000 children and cater to all these support strategies for the past 6 years and have made marked difference in the lives of these children, making them happier children, and they were happy schools, and then we are on the path to make happy society as well. And now, I would like to remember the promise that I made to my father that I would bring laurels to the family. For all the contributions, I was awarded the Women Achiever Award, thank you, by the President of India at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in 2016. And again, I owe this success to my happy childhood and the happy schooling that I had. And this year, I was nominated as the Advocate of Nari Shakti, which means Power of Women, by the Ministry of WCD. And the ministry has released a video about the projects of the trust to honor the work done by us, considering the magnitude of reach and the impact that it had created. At this juncture, I also would like to thank my family, my husband, my child, my daughter and my son, and my dear team, Aram team, which has made all this possible. So how many of you really think that these strategies should be a part of the education curriculum? Please put up your hands. A few, quite a few. I'm so happy to see all of you as change makers. So now what do we do now? Let's not wait for the government. Let's not wait for the education department. Let us not wait for the policy makers to make the change. Be the change you want to see. Always remember this, if not you, who? If not now, when? And if it's not now, it's never. So remember, education starts at home, and we will have a happy society only if we have happy children and happy schools. So get started, good luck, and thank you.